Hi, my name is Chris and this is Battle Nonsense. Today we will take a look at the netcode of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 PC beta. As you surely know, most Call of Duty games use both dedicated game servers and listen servers, which many players falsely confuse with the peer-to-peer network model. During the time that I spent playing the Modern Warfare beta on PC, I always ended up on a dedicated server. And based on what I've heard from other players, it seems like the beta used just dedicated servers and no listen servers, which is a good thing, as that eliminates all the downsides that come with having a player host the match on his PC. But we have to wait and see if that is also the case when the game releases, and if private or custom matches finally also use dedicated servers, or if the developers continue to have one of the players host these matches. The beta also allowed crossplay between consoles and PC. However, I won't dive into this here today, as there just wasn't enough time for me to test that during the beta weekend. Another thing that I liked about the beta was that, on PC at least, the developers did not use those stupid signal strength icons for your ping. Instead, they show you the actual value in milliseconds. That said, since the game servers respond to ICMP, with the exception of servers hosted by Vultr, I could easily find out that the values shown in the overlay and the scoreboard are false. So that seems to be a bug that the developers still must fix for the release version. Also, while I said that I always played on dedicated servers, I could still see the IP addresses of all my teammates, as the voice over IP solution seems to use peer-to-peer. And I couldn't stop the game from doing that even when I disabled the voice over IP feature inside the menu. Now, while I really like that the game shows ping values and not those silly signal strength icons, I'm very disappointed that the game does not have any warning icons to make the player aware of issues that his connection to the server is suffering from, like a high ping, latency variation or packet loss, as well as an icon which tells you that the server is having an issue. What makes this so frustrating is that the Call of Duty World War II beta had such icons, but these vanished after the beta and did not show up in Black Ops 4 either. It is very sad that the developers do not want to tell the player the reason behind why he is having a bad experience, which would allow that player to actually do something about that. Even if you don't like DICE or Battlefield, you must give them credit for providing the players with the information required to track down why they have issues in the game. Very few developers put in as much effort as DICE does. They even provide a damage log now, where you can see how much damage you took, who inflicted that damage, and at which server tick that damage was inflicted. If you ask me, every game should provide that much information to allow players to figure out what is going on, or what is going wrong. That would even help the developers, as they can then point at these warning icons in gameplay footage to explain why the player experienced an issue. Then I had a look at the bandwidth usage, and while game modes which put more players on the server need more bandwidth, I think that most players won't run into any issues here. Now how about the tick rate and the update rates? Once again, the developers decided that Wireshark is a bad application, and so the game simply shuts down as soon as you launch Wireshark. I have no idea why they are still doing that, as it is very easy to get around that and then use Wireshark while the game is running. So the argument that this is an anti-cheat measure is a weak one, as even I can easily bypass it. So with Wireshark I could see that in Domination the game server sends 62 packets per second to the game client, and the game client sends 64 packets per second to the game server, which means that the game server is most likely running at a tick rate of 62 Hz. The spikes that you see in the send rate of the server is where packet splitting occurred. This is when one update is so big that the server has to split the data of that update across multiple packets to get that update to the game client. Packet splitting is an issue, as the entire update is destroyed when you lose just one packet containing a part of the update. That is also related to the issue where you receive the damage of multiple shots in one update, also known as super bullets. However, based on my tests, packet splitting occurred very rarely in the Domination and Domination 20 game modes. Then I had a look at the new Ground War game mode, where you have 64 players on a single server. In that mode, the average server send rate was down to just 24 packets per second, and most updates were split across multiple packets. So not only does the lower server send rate increase the network delay, minor packet loss can easily turn into a big issue because of the large number of split packets. But how good or bad is the delay between two players when each player has a ping of 28 milliseconds to the dedicated game server? In Domination, I measured an average damage delay of 98.6 milliseconds, an average gunfire delay of 106.2 milliseconds, and an average movement delay of 109.8 milliseconds. In Domination 20, where I noticed more packet splitting than in Domination, the average delays increased a little bit, but not much. Then in Ground War, where you have 64 players on a single server, I measured an average damage delay of 136.4 milliseconds, an average gunfire delay of 152 milliseconds, and an average movement delay of 155.8 milliseconds. So the lower server sand rate and so the lower tick rate have quite an impact on the delays that the players are subjected to. However, when we compare these results to my last test of Black Ops 4, which also runs at a tick rate of 60 Hz, then it is obvious that the network delays in this beta are much, much worse. The delays that you get in the normal multiplayer modes of Modern Warfare are nearly as bad as those in Blackout, and Ground War is even worse than that. Compared to other games, the results of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 beta don't look any better. Now, if you have played the beta, then you might wonder why you didn't feel that delay. Thing is, when you are the one who is shooting at other players, then you get an almost immediate response from the game, as the game favors the experience of the shooter. It's not that hard to make a game feel responsive and great for the player who is pulling the trigger. The issues start to occur when you are the one who receives the shots, and if you have played the beta, then you surely died behind cover or wondered why in the kill cam you sometimes didn't fire a single shot, even though you fired at least 5 shots before you died. These way too long network delays contribute to what is causing that infuriating experience when you are on the receiving end of a shot. But to be fair, a bad connection to the server can also cause these issues. Yet since the ping values were broken and the developers decided to not use network performance icons to tell the player when his connection to the server has an issue, players don't know why they have a bad time while playing the game, and so they will always blame the game first. I really don't know why the developers are so against providing players with that information, as that would also help them, since they can then point at these icons when they see gameplay footage and say that this issue occurred because that player had a bad connection to the server. Sadly, I did not manage to test the lag compensation during the beta weekend. Honestly, it was very exhausting to get the network delay tests done, as my test players constantly got killed while I was trying to complete these tests. That said, based on the previous Call of Duty games and my experience in the beta, I expect to see this game also heavily favor the experience of the shooter when I'm going to test the lag compensation after the release. So I'm really looking forward to the final version of this game, not just to see if the developers fixed some of the problems that I've noticed, but also because I did enjoy the beta quite a lot, especially the guns and the movement felt great. The time to kill could be a little bit slower, but that's just me. And that's all for today. Big shout out to my patrons, as their support allows me to create videos like this one. If you enjoy my content and would like to join these great people who support me, then you can find the link to my Patreon page in the description down below, where you will also find links to my social accounts in case that you want to stay up to date on the videos that I'm working on. So if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe for more, and I hope to see you next time. Until then, have a nice day and take care. My name is Chris, and this was Battle Nonsense.